Well, eventually, the Doctor and Joe encounter the Time Monster. Yeah. Now, this is a concept that's utilized later in New Who, but doesn't seem to bear any resemblance to it, or if they even realize that this is something that had happened before, I don't know. But the idea that there were creatures that exist outside of time, and in this case, this creature that's mistaken for, the Titan Kronos in Greek myth, is a chronivore, as the Doctor referred to it, which is a creature that exists outside time and space and feeds on it. So, I mean, that would mean that certain aspects of time cease to be as it eats it. But for the most part, it seems manipulation of it, prematurely ages people or de-ages them. So you have scenes of one character's turned into an old man. They're able to reverse it later. Sergeant Bentley is turned into a baby. Don't worry, they bring him back, but then they forgot about his clothes, so he's standing there butt naked. Yeah. Well, they all have a good laugh at the end, After all the terrible things that happen, people get killed and all that. But hey, it's good to have a little joke at the end, lighten things up, So there's a few incidences here of demonstrating that in certain people, there like a bubble would form, I suppose, and outside it's time slowed down and stuff like that. And the Master's manipulating it all. Yes, it's another Master episode. Doing the same old tricks. Works every time. Everybody forgets what he looks like. I mean, at least sometimes he would be in disguise, but here... So then you have two scientists. They were a brother and sister, I think. And the woman has to pontificate on her feminism, and then at the same time gets irritated when men aren't acting like men. So make up your mind, old lady. Ready, lady? But ultimately, they get shoved to the side when the Doctor shows up, of course, as is always the case. And especially dealing with time travel. There's some things they do where time's manipulated, and so, an old V1 rocket shows up and stuff like that. And then, of course, a couple of nights and what have you. Not a whole lot. Really didn't... and I suppose in a shortened down version of it, there's too many episodes in it. It might have saved themselves the trouble of dealing with something that could do this type of stuff, of dragging people from different eras of time, and could have done a fairly decent presentation of it. But it's kind of stretched and then some knight shows up in a pasture or whatever, and and his reaction is just to attack. I don't know. But this was some means by which the Master was slowing the Doctor down and all that. You get the dueling TARDISes here. But, it's just, hey, let's go to the Master's TARDIS. Well, it looks just like, it's a little different on the inside. It doesn't matter. But ultimately, the big failure is the Time Monster itself. I suppose in a parade the suit looks kind of cool, but it's the Time Monster is a time chicken. It's just a guy in a chicken suit practically, and he's flapping around. They tried to use some lighting effects, which they probably should have just gone with a glowing light as being who knows what a chronivore looks like, but he just flaps around. And this is the key to the Master's desire for absolute power. And, tries to, and does succeed at some point to capture the creature. But all of this has to deal with this crystal that lures the creature in, and apparently this dates back to ancient Atlantis. Yes, there was an Atlantis, but didn't seem to have any spaceships or anything in this version of it, and they don't look like they didn't get a chance to become Aquaman and any of that. But they basically had this sort of pseudo-Greek society in the past, and one of the high priest is drawn from the past into the present by the Master and manipulated and all that. And he believes, oh, he's brought Kronos, and now he's the ultimate, well, master, if you will. And very quickly at the tail end of this long drawn out thing of the last 2 episodes where there's, a soap opera intrigue going on with the rule of power in Atlantis, and they quickly make use of that, and the master takes over. It's just all of a sudden very quickly, and the king himself, well, he's old and wise and he's not fooled by the master, but he just saw him appear out of nowhere, out of his TARDIS, which looks like an old computer box, and he says he just sees something like that every day, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, and the Minotaur shows up. That's nice, and he's chasing Joe around. Joe shows up and they immediately, hey, let's get her out of those clothes. They dress her up in a Greek outfit and stuff. Yeah, it's nice, but then, the doctor counters the master, and they do something that's supposedly going to destroy the both of them, but it doesn't, because Kronos himself, turns out, is actually a lovely lady, if he so desires to be so. Which means, why be the bird? Why be a flapping chicken? But anyway, once freed and decided was going to punish the master with eternal torment, the master begs for forgiveness, and the doctor says, hey, come on, give him a chance. We'll deal with him back at home. And he said, yeah, all right. And so the master, of course, psych, and jumps back in his TARDIS and escapes. So, didn't see it coming, huh? Oh, well. But then with this business of Kronos can take any form and is godlike and everything, then well, it's not the Chronivore, it's really Kronos, I guess. Nah, never mind, doesn't matter. So there were some concepts here that could have been interesting and whatnot. And there's some elements here that, well, used to be significant, but I guess you need to ignore New Who for the most part. I guess you can say, well, it ends with Capaldi. Yeah, okay, but the elements of the Doctor's past is referenced here, and this lays down groundwork for the end of Pertwee's run, where he mentions a mentor, Time Lord, who taught him a lot when he was a boy. That's right, a young boy. Was taught special lessons on the cosmos and whatnot from this wise old man who lived under a withering tree and all this sort of stuff. And that's another aspect of, as this character shows up later on, where there were Time Lords greater and more powerful than the Doctor, and this is the time before Doctor Who became Dr. God. So, but that's about it. There's really not a whole lot here. This wasn't a very good Doctor Who adventure. It didn't have to be, but I think since they didn't really have a whole lot to work with to present a story like this, probably would have been best to save it for a handful of episodes, not 6, But I guess it was the circumstances they were in, and they had to stretch it out over that, or what time slots are available, that kind of thing, whatever, at the time. And I guess that's what they did. But, time chicken, well, what are you going to do? Oh, yes. And, oh, no, what do you do about the Minotaur? Well, don't worry. The Doctor takes his cloak off. It's got that red lining. That's right. Stupid Minotaur runs right for it. So, yeah, you got that.